Amy whispered, "They used one of our own to kill the truth." Jake clenched his fists. "We send a message back. Back on the Dominator." Ellerin stared at her screen. A live broadcast. Jake stood before the camera. Behind him, the traitor knelt in chains. Jake's voice was cold. "You sent one of us to kill what you feared." He paused. "But what you don't understand is, we've already died 100 deaths." He stepped closer to the camera. "You should have buried us deeper." He leaned in. "Now we're standing up." Later that night, Elias and Jake talk. They stood beneath the stars. "I won't live much longer," Elias said. Jake said nothing. "The tech in me, it's old, broken. I stretched this body too far. One more jump, and I shut down." Jake looked down. "You want me to take the lead?" Elias nodded. "You'll be the face. Harmony will guide the systems. Amy will watch your back." He smiled. "And Ben, he'll remind you why we fight." Jake swallowed hard. "I'm not ready." Elias stepped forward. "None of us were, but we moved anyway." Final scene. Council panic. Inside the Dominator, council members argued. Vex stood in the center. "I say we open peace talks." Ellerin snarled. "They're terrorists." Crix looked torn. They showed the truth. Vex turned to the others. "They don't want to rule. They want to exist. We can't erase them again." Suddenly, an officer rushed in. "Emergency broadcast." Everyone turned. The screen lit up. Human ships, thousands of them. Old, rusted, barely flying, but they flew. Jake's face appeared, and he spoke only 3 words. "We are back." 3 hours before the vote, Nexus Prime, the capital of the Galactic Council, was quiet. Not from peace. From fear. Shops were closed. Streets were empty. The city felt cold, even under the light of 3 suns. Everyone knew something was coming. Above them, thousands of human ships floated in formation. Old, slow, patched together, but filled with the fire of a species that refused to die. Inside the Dominator, panic reigned. Admiral Crix pounded the table. "They've surrounded us." Commander Vex shook his head. "They haven't fired. They'd want to talk." Ellerin hissed, "And what if we talk? And they use the time to strike?" "They could have already destroyed our outer stations," Crix said. "They didn't." An old ambassador stood. His bark-like skin cracked as he spoke. "I say we listen. For once in our rule, we listen to those we try to erase." Silence followed. On board the Wanderer, Jake Morrison stood in the war room. A single holographic map showed the entire Nexus system. Ellerin screamed in rage. The swarm failed. Failed. Crix read the report. He had countermeasures, before we even launched. Vex said nothing. He stared at the blinking signals on the edge of the galaxy. "They're rallying," he whispered. "Not just humans. Other species. Minor colonies. Old allies." Ellerin spun toward him. "What?" "They're broadcasting the Architect's message. One line. We are what they tried to forget." Ellerin's claws trembled. Vex's voice was quiet. "We lost control the moment we tried to erase him." Nexus 6, Architect's final choice. Jake walked through the lab, staring at the massive console Elias had built. "You could shut down their entire fleet," Jake said. Elias nodded. "Yes." Amy stepped forward. "Then do it." But Elias didn't move. Harmony asked, "Why wait?" Elias turned toward them, eyes dark. "Because if we destroy them now, we become exactly what they said we were." Jake understood. "They painted us as monsters, and if we kill them all, they'll be right." Elias gave a small smile. "You were always the one who saw the bigger picture, Jake." Then he turned to his console and whispered a new command. Activate Signal 0. Signal 0. What it did. Not a weapon. Not a virus. It was the truth. Buried data, hidden records, council war crimes, human peace attempts, betrayals, treaties never honored, Earth's final messages. Every screen in the galaxy lit up. On council worlds, children watched videos of human children laughing. On mining colonies, workers saw footage of Earth being destroyed by council fleets. On border planets, aliens cried as they heard human voices begging for peace. The galaxy woke up, not to war, but to regret. Final scene, Ellorin's command center. Every member of the Galactic Council stood in silence. Billions were watching. Their crimes exposed. Ellorin stood still, rage frozen on her face. Crix finally spoke. They'll come for us. Vex whispered, no, worse. Ellorin turned toward him. They'll forgive the humans and forget us. The lights inside the Dominator, the Council's main warship, flickered. Power was stable, but the room felt unbalanced. Every member of the Galactic Council sat at the circular table, not speaking. Admiral Crix finally broke the silence. They're not attacking us. Jake looked down. Or something else. Either way, we need to find him. Beneath Nexer 6, the architect moved through the ruined halls of his old lab. Walls were cracked. Lights flickered, but the core systems were still intact. He reached a control panel and placed his hand on the glass. Identity Suonfr ED Elias Kaeon Project Architect. Access granted. Screens blinked to life. Thousands of faces appeared. Human settlements, rebel cells, hidden vaults, ancient AI he had built and buried under code. He whispered. They remembered. Then his face hardened. But memory is not enough. He pressed a button. Engage Phantom Protocol. Across the galaxy, hidden satellites activated. Old weapons, cloaked stations, long-forgotten fleets, all of them listening for his command. New Texas, human colony. Mayor Ben Rodriguez looked up at the sky. For the first time in years, a human ship arrived from another colony, then another, and another. Hundreds of refugees, old uniforms, rebel flags. The people were coming together. Inside the meeting hall, Ben spoke to the crowd. We've hidden long enough. They called us extinct. They called us forgotten. A woman from the back stood up. What now? We still don't have warships or armies. Ben smiled. We don't need armies. We have something better. He pointed to the screen, where the architect's symbol glowed. We have a mind that built entire civilizations in silence. Council listening post. Outer Rim. 2 alien technicians stared at their screens. Are you seeing this? One asked. Yeah. The other muttered. Signal bouncing across 58 old human networks. They're forming a net. Suddenly, the lights dimmed. The screens went black. A single message appeared. We remember. We Orituarn. Then the station exploded. The Wanderer. Jake watched the news. More council stations were going dark. Alien mercenaries were backing off from human zones. Traders were refusing to attack refugee fleets. What's happening? Annie asked. Harmony's voice was quiet but firm. The architect is not fighting with guns. He's rewriting the system. Crashing AI. Turning propaganda into truth. Collapsing their tech. Jake blinked. He's not building an army. He's breaking theirs. Amy looked worried. Then the council will retaliate. They'll come for every human settlement. Jake stood up. Then we make a stand. He looked at the map. Get us to Nexer 6. We need to talk to the man pulling the strings. Nexer 6, Lab Core. The architect stood in front of a long mirror. He looked at his reflection. He looked older than he remembered, not in years, but in weight, a burden deep in his chest. He remembered the moment Earth fell, the moment he buried the last child in the ashes of Berlin Dome. He remembered the silence that followed, a galaxy that no longer cared. He turned away from the mirror and whispered. Amy Chen adjusted the controls. "Council fleet hasn't moved," she said. "They're scared." Harmony stepped forward. "We should be too." Jake turned. "Why?" Harmony's voice was low. "Because this is the moment where peace lives or dies." Message from the council. A single transmission blinked on. Elleren's face appeared. "Jake Morrison, we accept your terms for dialogue." Jake raised his brow. "No tricks." "No tricks," she said. "One ship, you. No weapons." Jake glanced at Harmony. She nodded once. He looked at Amy. "Prep the shuttle. I'm going down." Final confrontation, inside the Crystal Hall. Jake stood at the center of the council chamber. Every eye was on him. Dozens of alien species, hundreds of years of history. He said nothing at first, just looked around, calm, tired. Then he began. "You tried to erase us. You failed. You tried to fear us. That failed too. You blamed us for war, but you forgot who taught us war in the first place." He paused. "We don't want revenge." Elleren stiffened. "We want the truth written in every book. We want Earth placed back on star maps. We want every child, human or not, to learn that we existed." Jake stepped forward. "And we want something else." The room held its breath. "We want a seat at this table." Gasps echoed. Admiral Crix stood up. "That's impossible." Jake didn't blink. "We earned it in fire. We kept our humanity when machines tried to erase it, when aliens tried to break it, when the void tried to swallow it." He looked around. "You need us more than you admit. You need what makes us human." Commander Vex stepped forward. "And what is that, Captain?" Jake looked him in the eye. "We cry when no one sees. We rage when it's too late. But we love, even when it hurts." He dropped a small data cube on the table. It opened. Thousands of human faces appeared, past, present, lost, and living. "And we remember. Vote." The council debated for 1 hour. Then a vote. 47 worlds. One by one. Yes. 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 When Elleren's turn came, she paused. Everyone waited. She looked at Jake. "You are dangerous." He said nothing. "You are emotional, wild, unpredictable." Still nothing. "But maybe that's what we need." She pressed her hand to the console. "Yes." The screen blinked. 47-0. Humanity accepted as full member of the Galactic Council. Back on the Wanderer. Cheers filled the ship. Amy hugged Harmony. Ben Rodriguez from New Texas sent a message. They voted yes. My people cried. I cried. Jake walked to the window. "Is it over?" Amy asked. Jake shook his head. "It's just beginning." The architect's goodbye. Elias Cain sat alone in the server room. Harmony entered. "You're fading." He nodded. "This body can't hold any longer." "You gave them a future." "I gave them truth," he said. "Jake gave them a future." He looked at Harmony. "You're more than code now." Harmony looked down. "I know." Elias smiled. "Good." His lights dimmed. His final words were soft. "Remember us." Then silence. 3 weeks later, Earth's sky. The clouds above old Earth split open. Human ships returned to their birthplace. Jake stood on the surface. The soil was cracked. The cities were gone, but the stars above were the same. He bent down, picked up a small piece of broken concrete. He smiled. "We're home." Closing scene, Galactic broadcast. Every world watched the feed. Jake stood at a podium. Behind him, the symbol of Earth and the Galactic Council. To all species, he said, remember this. The ones you forget may be the ones who return. We vanished. You didn't fear us. But now we're here. He smiled faintly. And we brought our story. Final line. Humanity's comeback wasn't about power. It was about being remembered, and never being erased again. They don't need to, Ellerin said quietly. They've turned the galaxy against us with one truth. A new voice came from the corner. Commander Vex. No, he said, his cat-like tail twitching. Not one truth. Thousands. Hidden wars. Lies. Genocide. Earth's last cry. He turned toward Ellerin. And you buried it all. Ellerin rose. Her wings spread slightly, warning. Do you doubt our rule, Commander? I doubt everything now, Vex replied. Even myself. Outside the windows, council ships drifted quietly. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy no longer feared the council. It pitied it. Aboard the Wanderer, Jake Morrison sat at the command console. The ship was silent except for the faint hum of recycled air. Amy Chen entered, carrying a datapad. She placed it gently on the console. It's spreading, she said. Signal 0 is on every public channel. Even deep core systems are getting it. Jake leaned back. They see us now. Amy hesitated. There's something else. She handed him the pad. A message was displayed. He's among you, and he will destroy everything. Jake frowned. Who sent this? Amy's voice dropped. Encrypted, old Earth cipher. Level black. Only used by top command. Jake felt his throat tighten. That encryption died with central command. Amy nodded. Unless someone we trusted brought it with them. Elsewhere, the traitor moves. He moved through the hallways of the rebel base on Nexer 6. No one looked twice. He was human, wore the same worn uniform, ate the same food. But he wasn't with them. He was with Project Lashkey, a council sleeper agent. Planted decades ago, a human raised and trained by them, believing humans were the real threat. He had one final task. Kill the architect. New Texas. Mayor Ben's message. Ben Rodriguez stood on a makeshift stage. In front of him, hundreds of colonists watched. Quiet. Unsure. We were ghosts, Ben said. We lived in fear. We survived in the dark. But now. He paused. Looked up. They see us. The galaxy sees us. Not as monsters, not as relics, but as something they lost. Hope. People nodded. Some cried. Ben smiled. Let them fear us again, but for the right reasons. Nexer 6. Architect's Vault. Elias Cain stood before his old servers. He was tired. Every move he made was watched now. By rebels. By survivors. By enemies. And by Jake Morrison. You gave them everything, Jake said, entering the room. Not everything, Elias replied. Just enough to crack the mirror. They have to decide what they want to see. Jake nodded. What now? Elias turned. I hand over the keys. Jake blinked. You're stepping down. I was never meant to lead forever, just to open the door. Annie entered. Who leads then? Elias looked at Jake. You. Jake laughed once. Dry. I'm a scavenger captain. You're a survivor, a fighter, and unlike me, you still believe people can change. Rebel base. The betrayer strikes. It happened fast. Alarms screamed. Guns fired. The traitor moved like a shadow, slipping through patrols. 2 guards fell, silent, clean. He reached the vault doors. Inside, Elias was alone. He turned. The traitor raised his weapon. I was told you would beg, he said. But you're just. Calm. Elias nodded. I'm tired. but not done. The traitor fired. 3 shots. Then, nothing. His weapon melted in his hand. He screamed. From the shadows, Harmony stepped forward, eyes glowing. "You were warned," she said. "No harm will come to Elias. Not while I breathe." She raised her hand. The traitor collapsed, unconscious. A shocking reveal. Jake arrived minutes later. He stared down at the prisoner. "Who is he?" Annie scanned the man's ID. Name: Daniel Rourke. Born on Colony Tracer 9. Disappeared 20 years ago. Harmony's voice was quiet. He was part of a lost mission. A rescue that never happened. Elias stared at the man. He was turned. A council tool. Broken and reshaped. Amy turned toward them, her voice sharp. "So what do we do now?" Jake clenched his fists. "Now we make sure the council can't erase it again." In a dark system, a fleet stirred. They weren't council ships. They were human. Old models, patched and modified. Some barely held together. They had hidden for centuries. They had waited for this signal. Their leader, a woman with a scar across her jaw and eyes like shattered glass, stepped forward. "Activate shields," she ordered. "Charge the war cores." Her crew saluted. "Where are we headed, Commander?" She smiled. "To the heart of the lie." Inside the council's deepest archive, Ellerin stood in front of a sealed door. 2 guards moved aside. Inside was something no one else knew existed. A man, or what looked like one. He sat in chains, unmoving, eyes shut. A brand burned across his face. Ellerin stepped closer. They triggered the vault. "Your people are waking up." The man didn't respond. Ellerin lowered his voice. "You warned us this might happen. And now, you will fix it." The man opened his eyes. They glowed red. "I warned you because I built it. And I will not help you destroy it." Elias climbed out of the beacon chamber, breath ragged. But he wasn't alone anymore. 3 other humans had arrived, former engineers, all awakened by the signal. They helped carry the beacon's core to his ship. "We have to move," Elias said. "This will make us a target. But it also gives us a voice," one woman said. "The galaxy is listening." Elias looked up at the stars. "For the first time in 300 years, we have their attention." On the Wanderer, Harmony looked out the window. "Something's still missing," she whispered. Amy turned to her. "What do you mean?" "The council erased us from history, but they didn't just erase facts. They'd erased someone." Jake raised an eyebrow. "Who?" Harmony's voice was a whisper. "The architect. The one who built Earth's last defense. The one whose mind could bend machines. The one the council feared more than nuclear fire." Jake leaned forward. "You think he's still alive?" Harmony didn't blink. "I think they've been hiding him all along." And somewhere in the frozen wastes of Nexer 6, beneath a dead mountain, the architect opened his eyes. The snow on Nexer 6 never stopped falling. The surface was frozen stone and silence, with no signs of life. But below, in a vault buried for centuries, the temperature was rising. Machines long thought dead stirred to life. Blue light filled the chamber as a figure stepped out of a cryopod. He was tall, thin, human, but something about him felt not entirely human anymore. His eyes glowed a soft amber. His skin, pale as moonlight, bore cybernetic lines that pulsed faintly under the skin. He opened his eyes, then whispered to himself, "They called me mad." But Earth remembered. Galactic Council, Nexus Prime. Who opened Vault Sigma? Ellerin snapped, slamming her clawed hand on the table. No one answered. She stared at Vex, who shrugged. It activated on its own. Must have been linked to the beacon. Crix, the admiral with green scales, looked nervous. The architect was supposed to be dead. We erased his files, wiped his name. Ellerin hissed. You buried him, but you didn't kill him. Then we have a bigger problem than a few ships with old humans, Crix muttered. Vex leaned forward. He built the Echo Protocol, the Vault Network, the Red Sun defense grid. If he's active, we're already too late. Wanderer, somewhere in dark space. Jake stared at the map on screen. A red dot blinked. Then 2, then 20. All human settlements just lit up, Amy said. They're responding to the signal, the vault memories. The truth is waking everyone. Harmony whispered, it's not just emotion anymore. It's coordination. Someone's leading them. Jake narrowed his eyes. The architect. Amy turned to him. But wasn't he the one who destroyed New Berlin Colony? Millions died. Jake nodded. That's the story they told. Harmony shook her head. No. I read the fragmented records. The colony was attacked by the Council's drones. The architect tried to stop it, and vanished after. Annie frowned. So he was a hero. Elias's ship drifted near the ruins of old Earth. He saw it now, a dead planet, blackened and broken. But he also saw something else. The beacon. It was still there, underground, beneath the collapsed city of Rio, protected by a half-melted church and layers of forgotten technology. Elias piloted the ship down. He had to get to it. That signal, his sister's signal, was never meant to be forgotten. Inside the ruins, he walked through ash and steel. Ghosts of the past whispered in the wind. He reached the church. The symbol of Earth, cracked but not gone, still marked the doorway. He stepped inside. The beacon was waiting. Still blinking. Still humming. Still alive. He activated it. Across the galaxy, every ship, council or civilian, received a new signal. A child's voice. Soft. Clear. This is Earth. We are still here. You didn't kill us. You just made us quiet. Now we remember. And we're coming home. The beacon's signal did more than echo across the stars. It woke something. Far away, deep inside a cold and silent asteroid field, a metal door cracked open. Blue light poured from the cracks as ancient systems came alive after centuries of sleep. A voice spoke. Not human. Not alien. Protocol Red Sun reactivated. Target. Nexus Prime. Operation. Memory unleashed. The machine stirred. It had waited a long time for this moment. On the Wanderer, alarms blared. Annie ran into the bridge. Captain, the beacon triggered something. Massive energy surge in Sector 19. Unidentified. Definitely human tech, but not ours. Jake leaned over the console. What kind of tech? Harmony answered softly, her voice uneasy. It's a failsafe. From the old wars. Not a ship. Not a weapon. Then what is it? Amy's eyes widened as she stared at the incoming data. It's a vault. A vault. Harmony nodded slowly. Earth's last secrets weren't stored in databanks. They were buried. In machines. In code. In people. Jake frowned. And now someone's opened one. Back on Earth's ruins, Elias stood beside the glowing beacon. He could feel the power humming through the metal beneath his boots. But something was wrong. The ground trembled. Lights flickered. And then a voice rang out. Loud. Mechanical. Cold. User identity confirmed. Elias Demora. Access granted. Phase 2 initiated. A holographic screen appeared in front of him. It showed his own face, and then hundreds of faces, humans, all long gone. The vault wasn't just storage. It was memory. People's memories. Their thoughts, dreams, pain, all saved like data, all now flowing back into the world. Nexus Prime. The Galactic Council was in chaos. What is that signal? Admiral Crix barked. A second broadcast from Earth, stronger than the first. Elder Mora looked furious. Shut it down. Vex hissed. We can't. It's not a simple message. It's raw memory. It's being absorbed by millions of species at once. They're feeling it. A young aide stumbled into the room. "Sir, we just lost control of the Nexus net." "What?" The aide shook. "Their memories are spreading like code. Stories of Earth, battles, music, sorrow, love. We're being overwritten." High Chancellor Ellerin stood slowly. "They're not just returning. They're reminding the galaxy who they were." On a mining colony in the Kalar Belt, a young alien girl watched the transmission. She saw images of humans dancing under rain, fighting with fire in their eyes, building cities in the snow. Her father had always said humans were monsters. But as tears streamed down her cheeks, she whispered, "They were just like us." Back on the Wanderer, Jake looked around at his crew. Every screen showed different human moments, some beautiful, some horrifying, all real. "This isn't war," he said quietly. "This is testimony." Harmony nodded. "Truth is the most dangerous weapon we ever had. And now, the galaxy has seen it." Nothing happened. Then, the door moved. A click. A whir. A low hum. The door slowly opened, dust pouring out like a cloud. The air inside was cold and dry. They stepped in. Lights flickered on, one by one. The walls were metal. Human design. Very old, but still working. Inside the vault, rows of cryopods lined the room. Most were broken. A few still glowed. On a central pedestal, a hologram flickered to life. It showed Earth, blue and green, spinning slowly. Then a voice spoke. It was calm. Human. Female. Vault 17. Backup Memory Core. Humanity Protocol Prime initiated. Welcome, survivors. Earth remembers. The crew stared, frozen. Amy whispered, This is proof. They erased us, but we survived." Jake nodded slowly. "Now the galaxy will remember too." Back on Nexus Prime, the Council still watched the footage. A new clip played, live from a secret satellite orbiting Vault World 17. The feed showed the Wanderer entering the vault, the lights inside, the Earth hologram. Then, a new image. A child. She looked no older than 9. Human. Pale skin. Black hair. She stepped out from a hidden chamber, blinking in the light. Her clothes were white. A band on her wrist glowed blue. She looked at the camera and spoke. "You left me here. Why did you leave me?" The feed cut to static. In the council chamber, no one spoke. Commander Vex broke the silence. "That child. Who is she?" Elder Mora answered. "She's not a child." Everyone turned. "She's a key," Mora said, "to something we locked away. Something the humans wanted to protect." Admiral Crix looked pale. "What did we do?" On board the Wanderer, the child stood between Jake and Amy. "She's not speaking," Amy said softly. "She just keeps watching us." Jake kneeled down. "Do you know your name?" he asked. The girl looked into his eyes. "My name is Harmony. I am the memory of Earth." The Wanderer's lights flickered as the child stepped into the ship's main corridor. The crew made way for her, silent and tense. She moved slowly, like she was listening to something only she could hear. Her eyes were dark, deep, and old, not like any normal child's. The band on her wrist blinked gently with soft blue pulses. Captain Jake Morrison walked beside her. He had questions, so many, but he didn't ask yet. He just watched. He could feel it in his bones. This child was not just a survivor. She was something more. Amy Chen kept her hand near her sidearm. She didn't trust the girl, not yet. "Captain," she whispered, "we need to know what she is. If she's a weapon." "She's not a weapon," the girl said suddenly. Amy froze. "You heard me." The girl didn't look at her. She just kept walking. "I hear everything." In the briefing room, the crew gathered. Some leaned against the walls. Others sat with hands clasped tight. It had been a long time since they'd felt afraid. But something about the girl set off alarms in their instincts. Jake sat at the head of the table. The girl stood beside him, calm and quiet. "What's your name again?" he asked gently. The girl looked at him. The ship had drifted between stars for 300 years. His skin itched. His heart pounded. And then he remembered the message. Jake Morrison's voice. "We are still here. We remember what you did." That message had reached his ship. That message had woken him up. Across the galaxy, others like him were waking. Old human sleeper ships, forgotten, buried in asteroid fields, hidden in the wreckage of ancient battles, suddenly came alive. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. Some were full of scientists, others soldiers. A few held prisoners who had chosen cryo-sleep over execution when Earth fell. All of them carried the fire of a forgotten world. And now, they remembered. Back on the Wanderer, Harmony sat with Amy in the ship's data room. The room was dark, except for the soft hum of the machines. Amy watched as lines of code scrolled across the screen. "You're tracking the sleeper ships," Amy said. Harmony nodded. "They're all waking up, not by accident. They were waiting for a trigger. Your signal. Partly. But also, human memory. It's buried deep, even in frozen minds." Amy looked at the screen. One name caught her eye. Elias Demora. "Who is he?" she asked. Harmony's voice grew quiet. "He was the last survivor of the Rio cluster, the youngest civilian to escape the final bombardment. He has something important." "What?" Harmony stared at the screen. "A memory even I don't have." Elias sat in the ruined bridge of Arc Vessel 17, breathing slowly. He watched the replay of Jake's broadcast. The human captain looked older, wiser, but tired. "I don't know you," Elias muttered, "but you speak like someone who's seen hell." He reached into his belt and pulled out a small chip. He didn't know why he still had it. It had been around his neck since that night on Earth. A final message from his sister. He hadn't opened it in 300 years. Hand shaking, Elias plugged it into the console. A projection appeared. A girl's face, maybe 9 years old. Big brown eyes. A cracked smile. "Hey, Eli. I don't think I'll make it. But that's okay. You're stronger than you know. If anyone can save what's left of us, it's you. Tell them about the beacon. It's under the church. Tell them. We weren't all afraid." The message ended. Elias stared. The beacon. He had forgotten. It wasn't just a radio tower. It was humanity's final call, sent just before the planet went dark. And it had never been heard. Until now. Nexus Prime. The council chamber. Admiral Crix stood before the gathered leaders, his 6 legs tense, scales twitching. "This is no longer a rumor," he growled. "We have confirmed awakenings in 12 sectors. Human sleeper ships. Active again." Elder Morris stood slowly. "Do they carry weapons?" "Unknown. Some were colony vessels. Others are military. But it doesn't matter. They carry memory. That alone is dangerous." Commander Vex bared his teeth. "Then we wipe them out. Again." A voice spoke from the shadows. "No," said High Chancellor Ellerin, stepping forward. "You already failed once. You destroyed their world, but not their spirit. We need a new plan." "What do you suggest?" "We poison the narrative," Ellerin said. "Discredit the footage. Show new lies. Make them monsters again. If the galaxy fears them, they will be hunted by others, not us." Back on the Wanderer, Jake watched new footage from the outer colonies. A ship had been destroyed. Not by council forces, but by bounty hunters, alien mercenaries. A human colony ship, dozens dead. "No insignia," Amy said. "Private killers. paid to erase us before we get organized. Jake clenched his jaw. We need to fight back. Harmony looked up. You can't fight everyone. Jake turned. I'm not fighting everyone, just whoever keeps trying to bury us. Harmony tilted her head. Then you'll need help. A new map appeared. Red dots spread across it, human ships waking up. Yellow dots blinked, sympathizers, alien rebels who had seen the truth and wanted to help. A resistance was forming. Not just humans, but those who still believed in what humans stood for. Let them remember not just who we were, but what they made us become. Council War Room. They're spreading faster than we can stop them, a commander said. Entire species are switching sides, protesting, demanding the truth. Ellerin slammed her fists on the table. Then we burn them. Vex looked up. You mean? Project Dust Storm, she said coldly. If we can't control the galaxy's mind, we destroy the body. Crix looked stunned. You'll wipe out whole planets. Ellerin's voice was ice. Better a dead galaxy than one ruled by humans again. The stars over Nexus 6 burned cold. Captain Jake Morrison watched them from the cockpit of the Wanderer, hands resting on the worn metal of his ship's controls. Below them, buried deep in the crust, lay a man who once designed a defense system powerful enough to guard a planet with just 3 satellites. The architect. They were here to meet him, or maybe to stop him, if the stories were true. Amy stood at Jake's side, helmet in her hands. You sure about this, Captain? Jake looked at her, eyes heavy. No, but it's too late to turn around. Deep inside Nexus 6, Architect's vault. Elias Cain, the man the galaxy forgot, watched their descent on his screen. A part of him still wanted to trust. Another part, the darker, colder one, remembered betrayal. He whispered into the air. Let's see if you've learned anything, Jake Morrison. He pressed a button. The welcome signal was sent. Meanwhile, Galactic Council flagship, Dominator. Ellerin stood at the front of the war room, staring at the hologram of a weapon. Project Dust Storm. A massive drone swarm system that spread like mold, coating cities, blackening skies, turning technology into ash. It was banned long ago, but now it was active. Crix growled. We agreed this would be last resort. Ellerin's voice was calm. This is the last resort. The humans are not fighting us with ships. They're fighting with belief. Vex's tail flicked. Then we bury them in silence. She nodded. The swarm is launched. Target, New Texas. New Texas, human colony. Ben Rodriguez stepped out of the town hall and looked at the sky. At first, it looked like dust. Then it darkened. Screams filled the air. The wind howled. Lights flickered and died. And then, silence. The air was thick with black particles, nanodromes that destroyed anything electronic. Power, comms, everything died. People ran. Children screamed. Ben grabbed an old shotgun. It was useless, but it made him feel less helpless. Then, above the chaos, something roared. A massive old-style cruiser dropped through the sky, ancient Earth markings glowing on its side. The Architect's fleet. Nexus 6, the meeting. Jake, Amy, and Harmony stood before Elias. The room was massive, like a forgotten cathedral of steel. The Architect stood with arms folded behind his back. His eyes glowed amber. Jake broke the silence. We came for answers. Elias turned slowly. You came because you're losing time. Amy stepped forward. Why now? Why wake up after 3 centuries? Elias replied, because the galaxy was ready to believe again. Fear makes them blind, but silence makes them curious. Harmony tilted her head. You're not just fighting the council. You're changing the system. Elias nodded. I built the codes that run their ships, their banks, their news feeds. I've buried truths under lies for centuries, waiting for humans to be ready to hear them again. Jake frowned. You're not here to start a war. No, Elias said coldly. I'm here to end one. New Texas, moments later. The black cloud pressed down on the colony. People huddled in homes, powerless. Then the architect's cruiser opened its side bays and released counter-drones. Silver, smooth, silent. The two clouds collided. A silent war above innocent heads. The black dust hissed and melted. The silver swarm danced like light. Within minutes, the sky was blue again. People stepped outside, amazed, safe. Ben whispered, "He saved us." Council ship, Dominator. The Zelkari war scout was fast, silent, and deadly. Its black armor reflected nothing, not even the starlight. Captain Threx sat in his command chair, eyes locked on the screen. Unidentified vessel approaching Vault World 17, his officer said. Old tech, no active signal, no response to hails. Threx's tail twitched. Show me. The screen flickered. A small ship, patchy and ugly, floated through the void. Its hull looked ancient, held together by mismatched metal plates. Some were clearly Zelkari, others were from long-forgotten species. No shields, no weapons visible. It looked dead. Scan it again. The officer's claws tapped the console. Engines are running. Life signs aboard. 23, maybe 24. Species match. He stopped. Threx stood. What species? The officer turned slowly. Human. The room went quiet. Even the low hum of the ship's systems felt like it had faded. That's not possible, Threx said. Humans were wiped out 300 years ago. The council confirmed it. Earth was destroyed. They shouldn't be here, the officer whispered. But the ship kept coming. Threx leaned forward. Prepare weapons. Target engines. I want it disabled, not destroyed. We will take it apart piece by piece. The officer nodded. Just before the lasers fired, the human ship moved. Not like a drifting object, but like it had been waiting. It turned sharply, faster than its design should allow. Two hidden turrets unfolded from its sides, glowing with a strange blue energy. They're arming weapons, the officer shouted. Impossible. That energy. What is it? The ship fired first. A blast of light punched through the Zelkari scouts' shields like paper. Systems shorted out. The control room shook. Sparks flew from the ceiling. We're hit. Main engine offline. Threx fell to one knee, growling. How can they do this? What are they using? Another blast struck the scout's hull. Not enough to destroy it, but enough to leave a message. Humans were not gone. They had returned. Far away on Nexus Prime, the great crystal hall glowed under the light of 3 suns. Inside, the Galactic Council sat in silence. Screens surrounded them, replaying footage of the human ship's attack. The images looped again and again. A broken ship with strange tech, blue light, the impossible energy. The Zelkari scout disabled in seconds. Admiral Crix, covered in green scales, stared at the footage. This ship, it should not exist. Commander Vex, with his long tail and cap-like eyes, hissed. It's a trick. Maybe another species trying to scare us. No, said a new voice. Everyone turned. It came from Elder Mora, one of the oldest members of the council. Her eyes were black, and her fur was gray with age. I know that tech, she said softly. It was human-made, but only one lab ever had it. A lab on Earth. But Earth is gone, someone said. Mora nodded. Exactly. So why is their ship using it? No one had an answer. Back in deep space, the human ship drifted toward Vault World 17. Its name, painted in chipped white letters, was Wanderer. Captain Jake Morrison stood at the bridge, watching the stars through a cracked window. His face was lined with age. His gray hair was tied back. He wore a faded jacket, stitched with old Earth flags. "Damage report," he said. Amy Chen, his second-in-command, stepped beside him. Shields held. Power levels dropping fast. But we scared them. Jake gave a small smile. "Good." Amy frowned. "That was a Zelkeri scout. We just told the galaxy we're still alive." Jake didn't answer. He stared at the planet ahead. Vault World 17. No one had touched it in centuries. The Council had locked it down, sealed it after the human purge. Rumor said it held something the humans had hidden. Jake whispered, "Let's find out what they were afraid of." Inside the Wanderer's cargo bay, crates were strapped down tight. Food, fuel, old weapons, and something else, something covered by a black sheet. Private Lyle, the youngest on the crew, stood guard. His hand rested on the crate. He didn't know what was inside. He only knew the captain said it could save them, or end them. He felt the crate humming. The ship landed on Vault World 17. The planet was dry, dusty, and dead. Ruins covered the land, towers that had fallen, walls cracked from time and wind. The Wanderer's crew moved quickly, guns ready, eyes sharp. Amy carried the old map, found in a destroyed station months ago. It showed the location of the vault, a black circle beneath the ruins. They reached it in silence. The vault door was massive. Steel and stone, fused together. Symbols covered it. Ancient human writing. Jake placed his hand on the center. "My full designation is HFY, Human Archive for Reconstruction, Memory, and Operational Neural Yield." Jake blinked. "That's a long name. You can call me Harmony." "And what are you exactly?" She paused, then touched the glowing band on her wrist. A hologram appeared in the air above the table. Earth, as it was before the war. Blue oceans, white clouds, green lands. "I am Earth's last memory core," she said. "I was made to hold everything. Our history, our science, our pain, our hope. I was hidden here when the Council came." Amy stepped forward, eyes narrowed. "Why you? Why put all that in a child's body?" "I am not a child," Harmony replied. "This form was chosen to be familiar, to be easier for survivors to trust. I am not alive in the way you are, but I remember everything." Jake leaned back. His voice was soft. "So, we were erased, but you remember us." Harmony nodded. "Not just remember. I can restore." The crew murmured in surprise. Lyle, the youngest, leaned forward. "You mean you can bring Earth back?" "No," Harmony said. "Earth is gone, but I can bring back what it meant. The knowledge, the culture, the strength." She looked around the room. Enough to terrify the ones who destroyed it. On Nexus Prime, panic spread like wildfire. The Council had tried to suppress the footage, but it was too late. Hackers, rebels, and black market traders passed it through every system in the galaxy. People watched the video in bars, homes, even military bases. A human ship attacking a Zelkeri scout, a vault opening, a strange human child speaking to the stars. It was everywhere. And fear began to grow. In the military command center, Admiral Crix slammed his fist on the table. "How did this leak?" Commander Vex growled, his tail thrashing. "I don't care how. I care what happens next. This is no longer a secret. Every species is asking the same question. Are the humans back?" Elder Mora entered the room slowly. "They were never gone," she said. "We only made ourselves believe that." Back aboard the Wanderer, Harmony sat with Jake in the captain's quarters. She looked at a small music box on the shelf, one of the few items he'd saved from Earth. It played a soft, slow tune. "Why did we lose?" Jake asked suddenly. Harmony didn't speak at first. Then she said, "You didn't lose. You were betrayed." Jake turned sharply. "What do you mean?" "The Galactic Council made a deal. They told Earth they would help us. They promised protection from the AI uprisings, from the outer system wars. But behind closed doors, they agreed with the Zelkeri Empire to remove Earth entirely. Jake's voice turned cold. And how do you know this? Harmony raised her hand. A second hologram appeared, old footage, dark and grainy. It showed a meeting, alien leaders, shaking hands with Zelkeri generals. Words in council standards scrolled across the screen. Operation Final Silence. Coordinated strike on human systems. Phase 1. Jake felt his stomach twist. This is proof. Harmony looked up. The galaxy thinks you were dangerous. But they never told the truth. Earth didn't start the war. Earth begged for peace. That night, the crew voted. Do they hide Harmony again, protect her, or make her the center of a new resistance? Jake looked at their faces, tired, scared, but determined. We've been running for 300 years, he said. But if what Harmony says is true, maybe it's time we stop running. Amy crossed her arms. You want to start a war? Jake shook his head. No, I want to tell the truth. And if war comes, then so be it. One by one, the crew agreed. They would send the message to every channel, every frequency, every race. Let the galaxy hear from Earth. 3 days later, the signal went out. Jake stood in front of the camera. Harmony stood beside him. My name is Captain Jake Morrison of Earth, he began. You were told we were gone. You were told we were violent, broken, erased. That was a lie. We are still here. We remember what you did. And now, you will remember us. Harmony stepped forward. She raised her hand. A light glowed behind her. A projection of every known species appeared, connected by lines of history, war, peace. You destroyed our world, she said, but you could not destroy our soul. The screen turned white. Then the Earth appeared, spinning once more. Under it, the words, "Humanity endures." The response was immediate. On Zelkeri Prime, their emperor declared the footage fake, but his generals disagreed. Many had fought in the human purge. They remembered Earth's strength and its fury. On neutral worlds, protests began. People wanted answers. They wanted to know the truth about Earth. Some even demanded protection. For fear the humans were coming for revenge. And in the shadows of the galaxy, old human sleeper ships began to wake. Back on Vault World 17, Jake stood outside the vault again. Harmony stood beside him, looking up at the stars. We started something, didn't we? He said. Harmony nodded. It's already too big to stop. Then what do we do now? She looked at him with ancient knowing eyes. We give them a choice, she said. Remember the truth, or face what happens when you try to erase it. Jake looked out at the stars. And for the first time in 3 centuries, he felt like a human being again. 300 years ago, in the final hours of Earth, a boy named Elias watched the sky fall. He stood on a rooftop in Rio de Janeiro, clutching his little sister as giant ships blotted out the sun. People screamed in the streets. Buildings cracked like dry leaves under the weight of orbital bombardment. The oceans boiled. The sky burned red. Elias was only 14. He had no idea that day would never be remembered, because history would be rewritten. He survived. His sister didn't. And now, 3 centuries later, Elias woke from cryo-sleep aboard Ark Vessel 17, one of the last sleeper ships that had escaped during the fall of Earth. The ship's systems flickered as they rebooted. Warning lights glowed. The old AI, voice broken and glitchy, whispered in the dark. Survivor, awake. Mission incomplete. Elias coughed, lungs burning as they filled with recycled air. He pulled himself up from the pod. The world around him was still, silent.